What is going on, folks? Will Turbid here. Fake Mike. Real news. See that grab? See that grab, guys? You know it's going to be a good show. Here
What's
in
up, guys?
Auditing America, guys. Guys, share this feed. This is going to be a very special feed. We got some guests backstage. And also, I'm going to say what's up to Isaiah. What's up, Steven? What's up, Hawk? What's up, Gamer Boys? What's up, O'Doyle Rules? Phantom Sheepdog, guess what? We already did the Pentagon and the White House. And if you want to finance us going anywhere else, go ahead and do so. Guys, share this feed right now. We got some very special guests discussing things. Hang tight. Stuff that you don't normally hear about. Now, um, Titus Frost, Captain, welcome to the show.
What's up? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Now, before we start, I'm gonna reiterate this when we get young Mem Dog in here. We have to be extremely cautious about what we say here. Uh, Extremely cautious. Extremely. I don't have to tell you that, but I'm still gonna tell you that. You know, of all people to tell that to, I mean, it's probably not the. It's probably obvious, but yeah, we gotta keep it super clean tonight while introducing this to a new audience.
Yeah, I got suspended earlier tonight on YouTube, so
Yeah, I noticed that. All right, so we're going to be joined by Memory Hold here live too. We got Auditing America, guys. I know we just started here. Share the feed with everybody. Share the feed with everybody. Let's like the feed on the way in. Let's get the algorithm to get this to as many people as possible. Audit them. What's up, Audit them? What's up, Brian? Yeah, how you doing, guys? No, we don't have any lawyers, guys. If you guys know any lawyers, let us know. Yeah, we were on the Young Turds the other day because this guy said First Amendment. I'll give you First Amendment, and they assaulted poor Mr. America. So that was rather bad. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. If anybody knows a great lawyer, hey, be my guest. We'll give him a call. But we've had our rights violated a number of times. I called a bunch of lawyers, and nobody really wants to take the case, unfortunately. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, we're working on things on our own, but some of these processes take a while. Like I got things I'm dealing with myself. For I got arrested for peacefully protesting at the state house over DCYF missing children and children even dying in DCYF care. And even when the child died in DCYF care, none of those people got arrested. None of them got fired. Nothing happened to them at all. But I was the one that got arrested for protesting. Now, because of the events of the last couple of years, things have even been delayed more than usual. So that's unfortunately happened. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. We don't have the live chat here. I think it's the top chat. So it's really tough to do this, but Titus is, I'm going to give the best description of Titus that I can given the current scenario here. Titus is somebody that has, through his own work, his own research, his own connections, his own hard work, his own sweat and blood and tears, has stumbled upon stuff and inspired me to do a number of things. You know, when we talk about the connections with Jeffrey Egg Salad sandwich there and all the top people like Trump and Biden and everybody, we're going to get into that. Titus was one of the first people that brought you this information. He was instrumental in delivering this information. You know, Mr. America and I, we say, yeah, we confronted Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton about what they were doing aboard that plane. But Titus was amongst the first to unravel that information for us and put it in a coherent, succinct way and give it to millions of people. So, but not only that, Titus has had several channels, unfortunately, taken down, like myself. And but still, actually, it's funny because one of my friends' friends was like, "Oh yeah, I saw a clip of Titus on TikTok, and I watched this whole documentary." So your stuff is still out there, being butchered and chopped and reaching new people, which is awesome. I would have never thought that. So it's really cool to see that happened. So yeah, guys, if you're just joining us right now, we're just 5 minutes in here. Share the video with everyone because this is important information, very important information that we need to hear. We're going to talk about the full spectrum here. I know I was going to say we're just going to talk about Gandalf and Harry Potter today, but I want to talk about like the full picture, the big picture. We'll definitely talk about how that fits into it too. But this is a video too where some people in the stream know a lot about this, probably more than me, and some people, this is new information. And we have the dapper young memory hold. What's up, Memdog?
What's up, guys? Sorry about that. I was wrestling with my webcam there for a moment, but I won.
Sounds interesting. You guys catch memory hold on OnlyFans. That sounds crazy.
I get banned on there too.
Okay, so as I was just giving an introduction to Captain Frost, memory holds, I should have probably told you this behind the scenes, but we're going to keep it. I already did tell you this, but we're going to keep it. We're going to have an awesome stream. And instead of just focusing completely on, and we're definitely going to get into connections. We're going to name names. We're going to get into connections. We're going to talk. I want you guys to definitely talk about the groups that overlap, the names that overlap. And I welcome you guys to, rather than talk about things, you could even put things up on screen, and I'll gladly share your screen for you. We're going to take as much time as we need as well, at least as much time as you gentlemen can give us here tonight. And I want to talk about the big picture, the whole thing that's going on. That's a lot to say to do, but at the same time, this is an opportunity to get this information across to a whole bunch of new people that may not ordinarily come across this. Then again, there are a lot of people that are readily aware of what we do here and are pretty, they know what's going on. So we got a mixed bag here. But as I was introducing Captain Frost, because I can't just shut the hell up, but most of the stream is going to be these guys talking, right? I just want to introduce these guys because we're going to be super clean about how we approach things today, just for the sake of getting the information out to people. We're gonna be awesome. And so yeah, memory hold also, as I was saying about Titus Frost, he's somebody that has not just taken information and synthesized it. It's like someone like myself. I've taken information from what I consider to be every and anybody and the best of the best, and from mainstream to controversial and in between, and I just try to make what I will, try to synthesize it as best I can and regurgitate it to you guys. But Captain Frost and young Memdog here, they actually go the extra step, and they will go ahead and do investigations of their own. They'll uncover news of their own. They'll create their own research and make their own news and make and get people removed from certain positions as well too, which is really awesome. That means they're really having a real effect. And just like Captain Frost and myself, we have also been put on the naughty boys list. And shout out to Balls Johnson, guys. And thank you to everybody. I just want to say this quick before we get into everything. Find Auditing America on Instagram. Find Auditing America on Facebook. Find Auditing America on TikTok. The young turds are doing a video about us. Go over there and weigh in on that one and say what you have to say. Help us win the culture war over there. And also, thank you very much to everyone that donated to Auditing America News, helped finance our recent trip to St. Louis. We did about 7 videos that day, so thank you very much. But more importantly, thank you to everybody sharing the video. And in particular, this is one of the videos that I beg you guys to share, because we do a number of videos on a number of things, but this is going to be very important. So, geez, where do you start on this here? Like, how is the whole world really secretly run here? Why don't where's a point in time where we should pick this up at, right?
Shit, that's a good question, man. And where do you start? You could always just start from, well, the origin point of where you think these people wrested control of, on the larger scale, or you can sort of zoom in on a microscopic level, so to speak, and focus on, specific elements or symptoms of this, what I consider to be a singular group, or perhaps even, factions of very powerful and influential people sort of battling it out for their own influence and influence peddling of sorts, so some people would start with currency control, others would more zoom into like the Epstein type of people. So it's really up to you in terms of the subject that you want to use as a jump off point, because my God, there's so many, it'll make your head spin.
All right, well, let's talk about let's start off small. we'll get this out of the way, and then we'll pull out the bigger picture here. So let's talk about, because before, I mean, even just a few years ago, you guys were the weirdos, you were the wackadoos, and everything that you guys were talking about has now come to fruition. Proof the new Ghislaine trial, that's maybe we might have to go through that again, who knows? But something that us three were saying, to put it mildly, was that, hey, and this is what the chat is about, guys, and we're going to prove this to you here tonight, or do our best to try to do that, or at least give you the best information that we can. Is that the people that are at the tippity top, the 1% of the 1%, they've been running things. The world is not as you necessarily perceive it to be. Everything is backwards. And the weird part about it is they like to harm people, and we'll leave it at that. They like to harm people, and as you saw with Epstein and Maxwell, those are the type of people we're talking about. So we'll leave it there. We could talk about them. We can call them wizards. We can call them Gandalf, Harry Potter. Captain Frost originated that term, and it's a great term. But that's what we're going to call them. You guys are going to understand what we're talking about here. We're going to start there. But I want to talk about some of the connections. And one of the things that I think, I guess I'll start with memory hole here, which is really cool, because for a long time, I've been telling people, hey, yeah, it's the Council on Foreign Relations, it's the Bilderberg Group, it's the Rockefellers, it's the Rothschilds, right? It's this group. And then when we look, well, when Memory Hole just did the basic thing that I didn't even think to do, he just went on the Wayback Machine on the Internet Archive and saw, hey, let me just look through Jeffrey Epstein's old websites. And what did he find there? He said that he was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Rockefeller University Board, and the Trilateral Commission. Right there. And these are the same things that we've been saying for a long time. So how does this element of wizardry work into all of it? And who are the players? Who's connected? Let's connect everybody real quick right now, guys. I'm sorry, that's quite the task. But
well, I think it's easy to start with, and then I'll let Titus add in to see what he has to say about this. But I think when you take these supranational, transgovernmental organizations, these are essentially sort of like the melting pots, the real brains behind the initiative, whatever that initiative might be, where naturally you get the likes of all sorts of folks that will probably play all different roles. So you get your Epsteins that might get involved in some sort of leverage peddling, where he manages to capture the dirty business of other powerful individuals and then use that dirty business as leverage over them to get certain policies enacted, if it's a politician, or even in the scientific sector, right? We know he was very involved in the science side of things, particularly AI-driven types of medical technology. People like George Church, he was pretty tight with Jeffrey Epstein. He's over working at Harvard, and if you want to look at some of the patents George Church is into, I'm afraid it's a little too dangerous to mention on YouTube, but it's relevant, so the viewers can leave that up to the imagination as to what Georgie Boy was up to regarding his friendship with Epstein. But here's the thing too, there's a reason that Trilateral Commission, and especially the Council on Foreign Relations, they're essentially just every powerful individual that has any level of influence over the world, whether it's a politician or even just Angelina Jolie. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. It's all perception control. And whoever owns large swaths of anybody's perception, any average citizen's perception, they get into these intra-governmental think tanks, such as the Council on Foreign Relations, which is why you see former CIA directors join them, which is why you see a lot of overlap between the Trilateral and the Council on Foreign Relations. So like a lot of people that are part of CFR are also on Trilateral, and vice versa, as we can see with Epstein. He was on both, which is an extraordinary achievement. So they all have different roles to play, but what it really comes down to, and I used to always doubt the existence of singular groups of powerful people driving the world to a singular vision of the future, or even just separate factions, as I mentioned earlier. I used to think that was bunk. I said world is too complex for that. But if you really get down to the business, you see that, how is it that so many different people seem to just have the same exact opinion, while also happen to have the same involvement with the same few organizations, like the CFR, like the Trilateral Commission? What are you thinking, Titus?
No, you're just nailing it right now. So basically, as you were saying there, Epstein infiltrated a couple different types of things like technology. And this is an auditing channel. So you guys audit various parts of the U.S. infrastructure, like the police departments and things of that nature. So one of the biggest problems that we face right now with this group, the Epstein Group, is the infiltration of various departments. The FBI being one of those. That's the biggest police department in our country. And the fact that they've infiltrated stuff like that with, FBI informants like Epstein, it leads us open and vulnerable to other types of infiltration that hasn't been stopped. So as the Davos people, the World Economic Forum people, are great resetting the world to the Belt and Road Initiative, which is an Israeli-centered initiative that ties in China to Europe and Africa. What they're doing is they're stealing technology out of the US using various blackmail influence operations like the Epstein Group, which infiltrated Apple because Apple's widow, Steve Jobs, was Laurene Powell, who was good friends of Ghislaine Maxwell. And Ghislaine Maxwell's sister infiltrated Microsoft with Comtech and Magellan Software, right? So what they've done here, and then on top of that, Intel inside. Intel is an Israeli company. And then on top of that, they have the Six Eyes Alliance. So they have a direct asset, the NSA data centers, which ties in to all that.
Our audience is very familiar with the NSA because people think I talk about that ad nauseum because we got our cameras in here, but you guys don't care anything about the NSA illegally spying on you while we're engaged in the constitutionally protected act. And so the Five Eyes is, I believe it's Israel, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, one other country, New Zealand, and there's even more as Titus has expanded upon. So let's take actually a quick second here to tell people where they can find you before we continue with this as well too, because I gave you guys homework to check up on Titus and Memory Hold. Actually, a surprising number of people were already familiar with you guys, so that's awesome. But where can people find you before we continue this talk? Because I wrote about 7 questions down here too. But yeah, the NSA is something that we're going to have to get into, the spy grip, because they're weaving this web. They've been working on it for a long time, and what people I think fail to understand is how you can pull a strain from any aspect that you want of life, and you're going to see, like Memory Hold said, the same people, and they're part of the same organizations over and over and over again. We got 7 billion people on this planet, and it's just at this point I think more than a coincidence. So for people, you guys, I want you to open up another browser if you're watching on your laptop here. Starting with Captain Frost, how can people find you on social media? And then let's go to Memory Hold, and then we can continue here.
Well, basically my website is hive.blog/@TitusFrost, or you can find me on YouTube at the Ghost of Captain Frost, but I'm suspended there again as of today. So, yeah, go to Hive and you'll find all my links to like Odyssey, BitChute, and all those places. So.
Nice. I'm primarily nowadays on BitChute and DLive. That's bitchute.com/memoryhold, and DLive is dlive.tv/memoryhold. I'm still present on YouTube. Like Titus, I've been struck down a few times. I actually got out of YouTube prison. Susan let your boy free, I think about a week ago, and I still have 2 strikes, and they all expired in March. So I have there's a long time to stay clean on YouTube, and that's not where the main viewership should be, guys. It really does affect us. So DLive and BitChute are the primary holders. All my main footage is up on BitChute. It's the primary HQ. YouTube's like a good 35 to 40% of my content, and that's primarily in the video of in the description of every one of my videos. I got the CoinTree link, the basic link compiler, and that's where all my social media is at. So all my video platforms are at. Odyssey.com for the Memory Hold backups and archives. All in the links in my video descriptions.
All right, and guys, if you're just joining us, please share this feed with everyone. Leave us a comment. If there's moderators out there, I can't see them because we're on StreamYard here. But if you could, please spam Memory Hold and Captain Frost's social in there. Not their social. There's the social media, not their social security numbers. Put that in there for everybody. So yeah, let's first take a step back and. Captain Frost, if you want to start with this, who is this group? And like I said, they have all these different strains of how they affect our life, and you see the names coming up. But who is this group? What's the psychology behind this group, and what do they want to accomplish?
Well, I mean, that's a really complicated question. I think it's better to look at what their current policy objectives are and name their actual names of the people doing these things, because, you know, roughly since the late 1700s, they've basically gone by no particular name. They have various roundtable groups that they create, but so far as they don't have a name, there is no way to identify them, so they can't be like destroyed. So, you know, you look at people like Henry Kissinger, for example, who's been one of these deep state swamp dwellers forever, and he resides inside the Trump administration, and he's there pushing stuff, you know, that would seem pro-America to people, but then turns out to hurt our country in the end, like isolationist policies that further the agenda of the World Economic Forum's Belt and Road, right? Which people are like cheering at the time because they think it's us decoupling from China, and they just don't understand how these bankers actually operate. And we know who they are. It's the World Economic Forum, the Council of Foreign Relations, Bilderberg. Like you mentioned pretty much most of them earlier. And, you know, we can actually identify these people's names. And like, as we've talked about before, I think one of the key things is to identify the individual players themselves, name these people, and then somehow get past these internet, you know, interactive activities groups like InfoWars that don't let people like us organize properly, so that we can get the information out and start getting boots on the ground to properly protest, like Bill Gates or Dr. Fauci or whoever. You know, it doesn't matter.
So let's start with naming the names, because one of the things that, you know, I want to say a quick shout out to Kriston T. Harris from the Rundown Live. When I went to Bilderberg 2017, I got there probably 8:30 in the morning after the car broke down driving overnight. The only person that was there by himself was Titus Frost. I was like, oh, Titus, oh my God, I watched your documentaries, Doc. The only person. There's not one person from mainstream news there. There was no alternative person. Captain Frost was the only one out there. And he was smoking a blunt with glasses on, holding his Johnson in front of, now that last part didn't happen. But he was out there, the only person out there, right? And so I want to give a big shout out to Kriston T. Harris. He was also out there that day. And he was also there covering the Ghislaine trial. And that's something I'm going to definitely get your guys' take on later. But he took a picture out of one of the final days outside of the courthouse, and there was one mainstream news truck there. One mainstream news. I mean, that's even local New York, right? So one of the things that they do is they didn't say, they kind of mentioned, oh, there's maybe Prince Andrew and maybe Epstein, but that was it. And oh, they hung out with Trump once and maybe Clinton once. Who are the people? Who are the players? And how are they really connected? Keep in mind, we're being squeaky clean here, but just let's just say, and again, before Captain Frost and Memory Hold continue here, guys, and if the moderators are there, please let everyone share this video, share this feed. Let's get their social media in the chat here. We're not accusing anybody of anything. We're everybody's innocent until proven guilty. We're just saying, you know, it's great that Epstein went on trial. It's great that Ghislaine Maxwell went to trial, but there's other people. They weren't the only two doing this, right? So who are some of the other people? What are the other connections? How do all these connections work?
Well, the way I'd look at it, and just to bounce off what you were just saying, you can objectively examine connections people have between one another without leveling accusations at them. And this is unfortunately a nuanced detail that has been lost in the fervor of conspiracy theories becoming suddenly domestic terrorist suspects. And it's unfortunate. So I do like to reiterate and preface, and I really drill it home to my viewers are probably sick of it as well, but I nonstop say, like, look, I'm not going to straight up say that this person is doing X, Y, and Z, but what I do know is they are in the black book. They are on the flight logs, right? So we can take a look at what prefer, and I typically examine it through the lens of all of the major high value arrests that have gone down from 2016 or 2017 to 2020 for the same crime, right? Which would be the trafficking of human beings, right? And you get notable names such as your Nygaards, right? Such as your Jean-Luc Brunel, such as your Epstein Ghislaine, such as your
So
Allison
hold
Mack.
on, just briefly,
Mhm.
because there are so many new people, the thing is, I am relatively informed. I mean, I know because I've watched, honestly, guys, too, you guys should know that except with the exception of the last maybe month or so, I've watched every single one of Captain Frost and Memory Holds videos at least twice, literally at least twice. And it's so funny because I'll watch them in double speed, and I watch them over and over and over again. And this information is very insane. So you guys need to go ahead and share this video with everybody that you can. Sorry, Memory Hold, I cut you off and I lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. I was going to just reiterate and say that, like, even if people are new, I think this is the easiest.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I know who Peter Nygaard is. I know who Jean-Luc Brunel is, but I don't think the average. I mean, I know some people do, but they don't. So when we're saying some of these names, I mean, obviously you don't have to say Oprah Winfrey, the talk show host, you know what I'm saying? But some of these names, let's give a little aside about who they are, like even a sentence or two.
Oh, yeah, sure. So Nygaard is just a giant fashion mogul from Canada. You got Brunel, who has been really great friends with Epstein. He was another fashion mogul, came from Karen Models back in the 80s, branched off into MC Squared modeling agency with Epstein money, which serves sort of as like a source point for victims. Then you have Allison Mack. She's popular. She's a Hollywood actress from Smallville, which she's most known for, and now more recently known for her involvement in a cult, but a cult even kind of downplays what they were up to. It was once again sort of labor and sex trafficking of individuals. She was caught up in that, and it was very heinous. I don't even know if I could say what else they did, but
They were doing legit stuff that people would consider satanic. I mean,
they straight up said it. They modeled the ceremony after ritual sacrifice things. There's a phone call that's leaked. So it's like, these are things they said they don't exist, but here they are modeling their ceremony after. And sounds like something, guys, if you're new, this sounds like something that you can't believe. It's not true, but you can verify this yourself. We don't delve into things that we can't verify. Titus is the exact same way in that we both show you the steps on how to access this yourself. So just to summarize here, so I can hand this over to Titus, what I'm trying to say is any individual, whether you're an expert or whether you're brand new, can take these arrests that have been highly publicized. Peter Nygaard, the fashion mogul, right? Allison Mack, the Hollywood actress you might have grown up watching on television, and John of God, who's a spiritual faith healer from Brazil that shot up to celebrity stardom. All of these people were arrested in a short span of time. All of them were extremely famous, or at least more famous than arrests that have preceded them. They were all arrested for the same type of crime, trafficking, and they're all overlapping and connected to one another. They seem, in my opinion, to be part of a singular operating network. Now, I'm not going to level allegations straight up against people that are friends with them necessarily, because I can't say for certain that they're doing something. But you have to lend scrutiny to individuals that seem to have befriended not one, but two criminals, confirmed criminals, right? When you have someone visiting John of God in Brazil, who is on the record arrested for trafficking, while also flying on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, right? That's shady to me. I'm sorry. When you have someone that's responsible for making John of God famous, Oprah Winfrey, right? She's the only reason yet he's famous. Also, great, super close friends with Harvey Weinstein. I'm sorry, that's a little shady. Then you get Harvey being pretty tight with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, it seems like there's a very tight-knit circle here, and I personally like to approach it, especially with new people that are the uninitiated. I think that's a really good way to understand that, especially since the fact that the media doesn't say, they treat them like isolated incidents. And in my opinion, I don't think they are. That's how I approach it. What are you thinking?
Well, so, I mean, if we're taking a look at, like, what was Epstein's Island and all that, right? Financed by Leslie Wexner, who has massive ties to the Israeli mafia, this sort of Russian-Israeli mafia that has ties to people like Felix Sater. And if you look into like the Russian Mueller probe with like when Felix Sater's name came up. If you don't know who he is, he's a Russian mafia billionaire. Okay. When his name came up in Congress, all of a sudden that Russian probe came to a fast end, because most of our political system is compromised by, the billionaire class that controls these people, right? So none of them are really outside of this control. So what are they doing to our country right now that has a direct effect on the people watching this tonight? Well, they're seeing inflation, which is caused by them, the central bankers. These are the central bankers, the same people that run the Federal Reserve and are overprinting the dollar are the same people that ran Epstein's Island as a blackmail influence operation to control our country and people of influence. So why are they, exposing Epstein's Island now? It's a part of the downfall of the West. They're getting us to realize that all of our institutions are fake. They're promoting people like Alex Jones to help promote that narrative, that are helping further drive our country into the ground, because everyone's doubting everything about the American government, the American way of life, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. It's all under attack. And the central bankers want that because they want to reset the planet, as they've said over and over again. And that means they have to take America down and flatten the world, as they've said, economically. That's what they're doing. And a part of that is making us feel like all of our institutions are a joke and bad and clown world. And that's why they put people like Biden in office, because he's an absolute mess and a clown, right? So.
Yeah, and I just want to address something briefly in the chat, because this actually amazes me how there are still people that support Trump out there. It's just almost as unbelievable as supporting Joe Biden. But what you have to realize is, someone put in the chat, is Wilbur Ross, Rothschild banker, bailed him out in the 1980s. Then he sent Wilbur Ross and Jared Kushner of 666 there to Bilderberg multiple times. Then he had Steve Mnuchin, Skull and Bones, who couldn't wait till Jeffrey got out of jail to go party with him. Then you had A.G. Barr, who had to recuse himself over his ties to Epstein. Then you had Bannon, who was basically running publicity for him. Then he hired Dersh, who said, yeah, you know what, I should be able to have my way with young children, basically. He basically doubled down on that. And then he had Acosta. He hired Acosta, who was the guy that gave him the sweetheart deal. So he may not be as bad as Joe Biden openly groping on children on video, but he basically hired the guy that gave Jeffrey Epstein the sweetheart deal. Rothschild bankers. I mean, if anybody, he banned more gun parts than Obama. He said, first you take the guns, then you worry about due process. He's the one that signed the executive order that shut down the Constitution, which allowed the states the emergency order to be able to be in the shutdown. He's the guy that's the biggest pro that you've ever met. He's bragging about that. He's still bragging about it. He actually got booed recently because he was bragging about how much he loves the thing. So yeah, and that's one of the things that Mr. Alex Jones used to expose. It's like, it's a two-party paradigm, and they started licking the boot of Trump super hard. So it's interesting to see when
I can explain that. I can explain why he's doing that. Because Donald Trump didn't stop the changes in the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. So far as that's not changed.
And what's that?
The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act is a law that requires news organizations not to lie. And if they get caught lying and they get caught propagandizing the American public, that's a big problem. And the military is not allowed to propagandize the public prior to the changes in the Smith-Mundt Act. And Donald Trump, despite his battle against fake news, never did anything about that. And that benefits Alex Jones, because Alex Jones is what you would call Patrick Berge. Shadowgate, the Shadowgate documentary exposed this. Alex Jones is tied in with General James Jones and Roger Stone, who used to lobby for Nexium, which is tied into all of this. They're called interactive internet activities. You can go look it up. It's a part of the military. That's where Alex Jones and all those guys are. They're an IIA operation. They're there. They're all part of this entire deal to take down our country. They'll never broadcast anything about how Israel is behind the Belt and Road. They'll never broadcast anything about how Israel has infiltrated all of the technology in our country and the infrastructure in our country, because they're trying to take America down as they rebuild the world with Israel at the center instead of America. The bankers don't care about countries. It's not about politics. It's not about Trump or Biden. They're both being played. You know, even if Trump was for America, he got played. He had people like Henry Kissinger giving Jared Kushner advice, both of them advising him. He was surrounded by IIA guys like Manafort, right? So like there was no hope for Trump at all, ever. Like even if he wanted to do good, he couldn't have, because he was completely surrounded by the swamp that he appointed himself. Because
I was just about, yeah, sorry. I was just about to say that. I'm like, right off the bat, I mean, hopes were quickly dashed where we were thinking like, why are you appointing the people? You can't be this ignorant. If you like, he had all these hopeful speeches about we're going to drain the swamp. I mean, who doesn't like that? He said a lot of great things. Don't get me wrong. If you were put that on paper, right, and you didn't know who the quotes or the statements were attributed to, you'd be like, sounds good to me. Let's give it a shot. And then immediately does the opposite by appointing X, Y, and Z. It's like, you can't help it right off the bat be skeptical. And at the very least, it's just ignorant choices, which doesn't really matter because it's the same end result. The individual is appointed, whether it's a war hawk, whether it's just whatever, you know, someone that's Israel first, as he essentially surrounded himself with, just ass kissers towards a particular country. And yeah, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, Titus, he didn't stand a chance. Even if he truly was an honest man trying to do his best, he was doomed from the beginning at best.
Yeah, and I would just add this too. He didn't create that wall, which I'm not in favor of anyways. He didn't lock up Hillary. And I think you can tell the true mark of somebody. JFK said, I would shatter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. He said, nobody loves the CIA more than me. Instead of ending the Federal Reserve, he added a new head to the Federal Reserve. He added John Bolton. I mean, this is you know, basic stuff. So sorry to be an iconoclast, guys, but yeah, Trump is a bad guy too. I wanted to ask you both this. Like I said, I've watched pretty much almost all of y'all's material at least twice, but I have been kind of absent the last month or so. What do you make of the fact, because we were talking about earlier, the fact that these names in these same groups always show up? With it could be a Democrat, it could be a Republican, it could be Hollywood, it could be science. These same people come up, and it's weird because we have 7 billion people. And I found it very interesting that you have Comey, who was the head of the FBI when Jeffrey Epstein was an informant. He was the same guy as Titus was just talking about with the Russia probe. And then his daughter is involved in the Ghislaine Maxwell case and some of the other Epstein cases. I found that like, what? Like, what do you guys make of that? I can't figure that out.
Shit, man. I feel like they just have people on retainer. I just feel like they straight up have people on standby, just ready to go. I really can't think of anything other than that. So the one thing I can that I've come close to really vibing with in terms of that must be it is just the vast genealogy and bloodline these people come from that have been towing the same line for generations. The average human being, and this is what they state in their writings, like the first global revolution by like the Club of Rome that really brought into fruition like carbon emission and carbon taxing and overpopulation being like the main existential threats humanity's going to face, which is why we got to step in. They said that like the average human being, politicians have like a very narrow perspective of the world. At best, they think about issues at the present, and at most they think about only one generation down the line. Now these elites have kept their money, have kept their wealth through generations and generations. There's elites out there, world leaders or otherwise, people you'll never hear of, you or I, that have no insight as to what it's like to live a normal life for over like 250 years because their family's been that insulated within their own realm of living. We might as well be extraterrestrials to them just because they have no bearings on whether like how to live like us. My point is that I feel like that's to blame for what we're seeing here. These people have been doing this for a very long time. As Titus mentioned at the opening of this, it really depends on how far back you want to go. Did you want to go back to the faceless, nameless elements, or rather, it wasn't nameless at first when you talk about, like the 1700s. I'm not going to exactly say the name, but it starts with an I, but then, that kind of like disbands or whatever, and they cycle out and they start infiltrating these other mystery groups, secret societies and such. These people have not lived a normal average human's life ever. They have no idea what it's like. And no wonder these are the same people that enter these intra-governmental, supranational think tanks that guide the trajectory of the planet. It's because they've been doing it forever. And the reason for that is because they've always been thinking ahead, and they've designed reality to be such a way where the average human being can't afford or has no reason to or incentive to think further than the next generation, aka the children they may or may not have, and at the most the grandchildren they may or may not have. Past that, most average individuals don't think further past that, and they rely on that. That's why, like, you don't see someone like Bill Gates get born and say, Dad, I don't like that NWO stuff. That's cool. Thanks for the offer. I think I'm just going to tinker with my computer and stuff and be a good guy. No, you don't see that. They go and they toe the line as if there's like a seamless segue, a transition, as if the idea. And it always makes me wonder, none of these guys ever just disagreed with the sentiments. None of these people ever just disagreed with the ideology, saying, man, I don't know. I mean, maybe some of them have, but
a few have. Remember, actually, I was watching a History Channel documentary about the Rockefellers.
Yeah.
And there is one woman who renounced the Rockefeller name, and she lives in a super small apartment in New York, and she has her little altar to Buddhism and stuff like that. So there are very few, but it's like you said, they're few and far between, for sure.
And it's unfortunate. And you know what? To counter, it's like, that's true. But I guess a lot of help that's done, other than her moral obligation to do so. I guess her rest of her family has managed to pick up anyways. These people, they just have a ton of kids.
It's not holding them back at all.
Exactly. It's like, oh, she don't want to partake? Fuck her. You know what I'm saying?
We're more for us.
Exactly. So that's my perspective. And they've said as much. They said politicians think too much in the present. That's why we have to do things. We can't leave it up to them.
That's right, guys. We have to do everything, and we're lucky enough that Mr. America from Auditing America gave us this platform here, guys. So do your duty, share this video, make a comment, share this to all your friends on social media. Find Memory Hold, find Titus Frost on all these platforms. Get it out here, guys. I'm on StreamYards here, so I can't see all your comments correctly. But before we kind of get back into it, let's talk about some of the famous names that we've discovered here, right? That have been associated with these people, either from black books or the flight logs or photographs or business partners. Let's talk about how these connections are made, because one of the things that Titus and you do is you show that it's not just like, some people will see the news and be like, oh, John of God got busted for some crazy stuff. Oh, there goes NXIVM. Oh, Epstein Ghislaine. Oh, Harvey Weinstein's a bad guy. But what I think that people don't realize, and what you two gentlemen brought to the forefront, is that these aren't just isolated things. So maybe we could talk about some of the names and how they interconnect in this whole wicked web.
Well, just first to sort of talk about like some of the people that have kind of like, I think the difference between like us three sitting here talking about these people and people inside their little club that go out and speak out about them is the people that actually do that get killed. So like Princess Diana was like hated by this Epstein group. There's even like, I think video or rumors of video about them like making fun of Princess Diana, and she was like in the corner like crying with tears. They'd all be like ripping on her and stuff, and they eventually killed her. Like they absolutely murdered her, right? And then there's Isaac Cappy. He was another insider. He had inside information on Hollywood people. He starts speaking out. He makes the connections to the Mossad media matrix that was all like the InfoWars connected people that also were connected to this Epstein ring through like Cernovich and these other characters, and then he ends up dead, right? So like, I think if you're someone who's been inside their little clubs and has like inside information, and then you start speaking out, then you're probably
same thing with JFK, right?
Right, yeah, right. So JFK was another one of them, and he started going against them, he gets killed, right? And that's why, like, I won't say his name, but the man with the little mustache, right? they helped him rise to power, and then he turned on them, and then they're like, oh shit, now what are we gonna do? And then he like, so like this is basically like this is what happens. Like if you turn on them, they will kill you, right? That's if you're an insider. But if you're just some idiot like me on YouTube, they could just care less. They'll just censor you. They'll just put you in some, sandbox in the corner of the internet where no one sees you playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly it. We'll project an audience for you to make you think you're talking to people, when in reality, it's just like an automated, like 1,000 IP addresses with stupid usernames or some shit. It's awful, dude. I hate it. And yet we still do it, man. We're just passionate about it. It's how it should be, though. But you're right, man. So one thing where people kind of exaggerate the threat that comes from, or comes to people like you and I, where you're right. It's the insiders that they take extraordinary risks. Rest in peace, Cappy, man. Like that guy stepped out of the comfy bubble that he was in, if you can call it actually comfy in the sense that it didn't get him killed until he actually started saying some things that rattled and riled some people up. And you approach the media matrix, man. Like, I like that term. Like, if you ever get anywhere close to that, they get real touchy because if you think about it, they rely on the perception control to keep societal cohesion, aka societal cohesion that doesn't know that they're doing what they're doing, which is consistently dismantling our faith in institutions and just weaponizing apathy to, instill a sense of just hopelessness and apathy and just, I don't care about anything. We see that, it's just nihilistic perception of like the younger generations, and that seemed to have started like with mine. And I don't even think it started with mine. I just saw it a lot in mine where it's like nothing matters type of shit. And that's what they want. That's why they're getting rid of, any types of ideology that doesn't rely on like science. But the point is you step out of line, you get capped, you get taken care of. And that is why all of these people toe the line multi-generationally. And that's why these people are repeating characters over and over and over again. If you want to zoom into the 5 examples or however many it was I gave you when it comes to those high value arrests, but expand outward, and you still got the same types of people involved across the board. And that's why, you can go on and on listing the names, but I find it easier to just simply pull up the World Economic Forum website, because you can see the main people driving things forward tend to be a part of these programs as they're being sort of groomed on the way up, so to speak, mentally, to roll out certain plans. I forget what they call it. There's a program where it's like the Young Leaders program or something like that the World Economic Forum has. And it's like, I think like Tulsi Gabbard was a part of it. Like all these people were a part of it, and it adds up, it overlaps perfectly with the world. Angela Merkel, I think, was a part of it too. The places with like super tight COVID restrictions just happen to be a part of this program that they were brought up into. It's a part of like the World Economic Forum. You can check me on that. I'm going by memory on this one, so I should be careful, but I think it's true. So I guess my point is that if you want to talk about names, you can look at the Epstein flight logs, or you can just look at these think tanks where I guarantee you many of those on the flight logs and the Black Book are a part of these same groups because they all have a similar vision for the future in mind.
What's your take on that, Titus?
Well, yeah, the Young Global Leaders list is a doozy.
That's it.
You got Tulsi Gabbard on there. You got Dan Crenshaw on there. You got Mark Zuckerberg on there, right? So, like, it's a who's who of dirtbags for real. And they're on both sides of the aisle, as always. So
yeah, and Tulsi Gabbard, again, is had lunch with the Council on Foreign Relations, too. And you guys already know about these other people. But yeah, I think some of these names that would surprise you is, we've covered this, but Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, you've got the Weinstein connection, Alec Baldwin, you've got who are some of these other people? Stephen Hawking. I mean, and that's the interesting part too, and maybe we can start putting it in that direction now. Actually, before we go there, I briefly, or take as long as you want. I'm curious to see y'all's take on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial and all that, because something that you both have shown is that these rings, it's not just like this ring, even though they're all interconnected, but they happen before every decade, and usually somebody will get caught, but it's only that one person. what's really going on with these rings? And I mean, honestly, like for me, like just playing the devil's advocate, I'd be like, well, why would you even arrest this guy in the first place? Why even put this guy on public trial? Why arrest Ghislaine? Why is Prince Andrew like? I mean, things that I would never think that I would see. I mean, I can't believe that I'm seeing Prince Andrew being defrocked. It's awesome. Like, so why is this even going on? What's your take on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial? What was that about?
I would say personally that they've extinguished their usefulness. I know that's hard to believe because you know, and I could be way off the mark on this, admittedly, but I personally believe that look, there's no lack of talent in this realm of things, right? There's a lot of bad folks out there that have a lot of resources and a lot of influence and can get more influence if they're willing to play ball. Epstein has been rotten liability, essentially baggage, since 2007. Maybe he was still effective at doing his honeypot sexual blackmail job since then. But here's the thing. He's on paper as being a sexual predator. And you have to imagine that's probably affected his bottom line, which therein affects the entities, the intelligence apparatuses that use him, Mossad, CIA, whoever it might be, individual contractors, what have you. It probably affects them because you don't want to run the risk of running with someone that's already on paper to the public, of all things, as being someone that might be involved in that type of thing. And by extension, that goes with Ghislaine Maxwell because she was known as being, you know, tight with Epstein anyway. So same thing with Harvey, right? Tight with Epstein to a certain extent. It was a open secret, they say, that Harvey was a predator. You got that Courtney Love quote where she's talking to the camera. Any advice for young stars coming to Hollywood? And she says, if Harvey Weinstein invites you out to dinner, don't go. And it's like, oh, nice tip from the girl on the flight logs or whatever. And it's like, you know, just get rid of them, I guess. That's my point. If they're low hanging fruit, if they no longer serve a purpose, just throw them in the garbage, you know. And people theorize that Ghislaine Maxwell might not be in prison because we don't have photographs of her. It was a federal trial, so you know there's no photographs, no video. And I vibe with that idea and the old swap out, the old switcheroo idea, right? Epstein wasn't he didn't suicide himself, he didn't get killed, he was swapped out because of all the blackmail, so he still has leverage. Guys, I personally think it's just a lot easier to get rid of him personally. And then why would you not replace them with someone whose name we won't know for another decade or 15 years at least? You know, think about how long Epstein didn't just like get born in 1992 and suddenly start trafficking. This guy was up to no good probably for a very long time, especially if you were to believe like Vicky Ward, where she says like he was into like gun running and stuff in like the 80s or whatever. So it's like, why not just replace him with someone that's actually invisible and will be able to efficiently run your sexual blackmail operation or trafficking program silently and successfully for quite some time? That's personally what I think is going on with the takedown. Because look, maybe just as they're shuffling out good people in these institutions to reset the globe, as Titus said earlier, and springboard this using COVID as a springboard, right? All those resignations, they're shuffling people out. The power hierarchy is shifting. And look, that could be their own employees too, right? They're just not doing the same job as they used to do. That's just my own personal theory, entirely speculative, but why not get rid of them, replace them with someone brand new, fresh talent that nobody knows about? Clean slate, clean start for the new decade and the new reset.
Yeah, I think you're close. I think you're really close to it with their usefulness is over. In 2022 now, what do you need a blackmail operation for in the world of deep fakes? You know, that you can just create a video now and put someone in it and say, oh, here's some Russian prostitutes pissing on Donald Trump. And you never even have to have a video, and you can get the media to run with that, with, you know, your IIA operations and influencing the internet. So I don't even think they need an Epstein Island anymore. And if they do, they have other islands. Bill Gates has his own private island. Richard Branson has his own private island right down the way from Epstein's Island that's more private and has already had NXIVM parties at it. So, I mean, I think the Epstein Island thing was basically the banking elite putting the managerial class in line. the managerial class had gotten a little too brazen. Some of them are not going along with the program. The British royal family has been resisting the Israeli sort of takeover of everything, especially Prince Charles, which is the father of Prince Andrew. So I think a lot of this was like the upper elite putting that managerial class in line and letting them know that if they don't fall in line with this new Belt and Road world, this new Israel-centered,
So actually,
China-centered
that was my
world.
next question for you, Titus. So if you could run with that, let's talk, take as much time as you need, 10, 15 minutes. Memory hole, feel free to jump in whenever you need to. But let's talk about the Belt and Road, because we talked about these people. They want to centralize power. That's evident with Cecil Rhodes, the Rothschild, Alfred Milner, and Cecil Rhodes' will, which was to create a secret society and re-encapsulate America. And that's from the Anglo-American Establishment, written by Carroll Quigley, Georgetown historian Bill Clinton's mentor. And then you have that group creating the Royal Institute of International Affairs. And that group is the sister organization to the Council on Foreign Relations, created in England first, and they've controlled all the sources of information that we have. We have mainstream news covering up for Jeffrey Epstein, getting their marching orders from the military-industrial complex and big pharma. But back then, I mean, if you read something like The Jungle Book or something from Rudyard Kipling, it was controlled by these people. If you watch something on TV, it's Rockefeller Plaza, right? It's Columbia Broadcast. David Rockefeller, we read the quote the other night from David Rockefeller's 2002 autobiography memoirs, where he said, "That's where I met William Paley during the Second World War. He was the head of the psychological warfare department. He would go on to fund CBS, to create CBS." Right, and then you had these people who were behind the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Rockefeller Board of Education, right? They put their people in at the newspapers, Oxford, All Souls, Balliol, and now today they've completely wanted to centralize power. They financed both sides of World War I to create their League of Nations. It fails. So then you have Rockefellers gifting the United Nations, and the United Nations, like you guys said, the guy with the funny mustache, he couldn't have came back to power if it wasn't for the same literal group documented by tragedy and hope in the Anglo-American establishment. Germany was SOL after World War I, right? And they built these people up to create this framework, this centralized framework. And one of the parts of that framework that we're seeing play out today is the Belt and Road. And Captain Frost is one of the few people out there talking about it. I think it's very important. I think a lot of people don't know what that is. So if you could expound upon that for a little bit, I'd appreciate that.
I guess the easiest way to look at it is to look up the Bunting Clover map, which basically shows how Jerusalem and Israel will be at the center of the new world. You have Europe and Africa and Asia connected by it at the center. And if you look at like the fiber optic cables for the internet in Europe and Asia and all of that, it flows through Israel. So Israel's become like the center point for all of the internet across basically the Eurasian continent. And then on top of that, they've taken all of our, U.S. military technology, transferred that to China via Israel, which has access to all our military tech. Kissinger took all of our manufacturing out of the U.S. a long time ago and sent that to China. And China is now the new manufacturing hub for the Belt and Road. So basically it works like this. You take stolen American technology, stolen American engineering, you transfer that to Israel through, Israel's infiltration of the United States. And then you have the Chinese use that information to build everything. So China becomes your slave labor force and your new military, and Israel becomes your new trade center and technology center that's able to control the new Eurasian empire, basically. And then Northern Africa becomes a part of the trade system. And then basically the rest of Africa is left out, Australia is left out, America's left out, and South America's left out for the most part. If you look at George Orwell's map from the book 1984, it's exactly laid out in that manner. It's the exact same map is what the Belt and Road will be when it's done, basically.
And I just want to say, if everyone's just joining us, please share this video with everybody. Smash the like, comment. Again, where can we find you guys on social media here? What's the best place to find you guys?
I'm on bitshoot.com/memoryhold for the main videos, Twitter at memoryhold777, and then Gab, the alternative platform, is just at memoryhold. Essentially, you search memoryhold on any platform, and you will find me. YouTube as a backup, memoryhold 4.0, and that's about it. Those are my primary hubs, and of course, dlive.tv/memoryhold for uncensored streams, where we're safe, I think, for now.
Yeah, I mean, you can type in Captain Frost or Titus Frost in the YouTube and find me on whatever channel pops up after I rebirth every time from the depths. And, and hive.blog/@Titus Frost is always there. It's a Web 3.0 blockchain platform, so it's not going anywhere. So it's hive.blog/@Titus Frost.
So yeah, I can't tell what the hell's going on if there's moderators or not. Usually we usually have a bunch of moderators. So share this video, guys, and yeah, we'll take some questions for you guys at the end too. So stick around to the end, and we'll always answer your questions at the end. And you guys already have some great comments here. So just bear with me because we're doing this on StreamYard. So let's talk about how the so-called intelligence apparatus works into this. As I mentioned, Jeffrey Epstein was an FBI informant. And then Titus, as you mentioned, you got the NSA. I mean, 2013, Snowden. I'd be curious to see what your all take on Snowden is. Anyways, it's told us something that we already knew, but, it gave us the proof anyways that, the NSA has been spending trillions of dollars to, warrantlessly wiretap American citizens. They can pull up anything they want. You got China with Skynet. Where is this all going? I mean, it's funny because Black Mirror seemed like, that was a joke where you'd be in this room and you'd pedal for stuff, but then now it's like it's almost right here. So what's up with this spy grid, and what's up with the intelligence agencies? How do they fit into this, gentlemen?
I would say, just on a basic level, the first thing to understand is, number one, the intelligence agencies, even though they have a legitimate role, if you can argue that, I suppose, but primarily the role they're going to play is just to circumvent any level of congressional oversight. It's a permanent dark channel, back channel to do anything to serve as a sort of attack dog for the elite, which is why, once again, there's so much overlap between these humongous think tank NGO type groups and the intelligence agency. In fact, if you want to take the origin of the CIA with the OSS, I mean, those were all academic idiots, Yale types, and just echo chamber, whatever, right off the bat. So I forget what they used to call them, but they used to make fun of the OSS because they were all just bookworms, weeds, so to speak, that they formed the OSS out of. So from the very start, there's a reason that the CIA, just to use it as an example, seems to be fulfilling the wishes of the elites, the rich and the powerful, even outside of politics. It's because they are one and the same, at least in their origin, right? And that's just a basic take on why they would be significant. No congressional oversight, and it's the same individuals that are trying to drive us into this future. And it sort of makes sense when Titus went back and he said there's really no need for physical blackmail because there's deep fakes now. Well, that's really a testament to technological advancement, right? And deep fakes is just one example of that, and how technology is really what is going to bring all of this into fruition. This new world, this great reset, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be an entire comprehensive technological control system, a technocracy, so to speak, where thoughts, feelings, emotions, every human being is conditioned, every thought is implanted, embedded, ingratiated subconsciously without even knowing the individuals being victimized by these psychological, psychic mechanisms, right? Through social media, through the internet, through what technological means that you have. And bringing this back to intelligence agencies, they're the ones sucking this data up. They're the ones producing this information. They're the ones psyoping us via the internet, via television, via social media. So every means to an end involves this technology that we're seeing unfolding, and the people at the reins of power with this technology is synonymous with the intelligence agencies, being as they either helped create this technology or they have non-disclosure agreements and they just suck the data up from this technology to begin with, like the NSA or like In-Q-Tel helping Marky Boy out with Facebook, right? That was all Mark's idea. LifeLog, never heard of it, says Mark. It was my idea. Yeah, right. It's all part of this control grid that they're forming. And of course, in my opinion, at least, the intelligence agencies serve as that. They serve as the takedown mechanism to wipe out the old value systems or the old infrastructure in order to pave the way for the new infrastructure, which is a technocracy, a technologically controlled type of civilization.
Yeah, that's exactly where we're going. So they're building smart cities now, but the smart cities that they're building are not in America. So if you look over in like Kazakhstan and you look at like Astana, Astana is this beautiful new high-tech smart city. If you look in China at Shanghai, it's a massively high-tech, way more high-tech than New York or LA smart city. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Neom, the World Economic Forum bankers are putting their money along the Belt and Road cities, and they're letting all of our cities in the West fall apart while they offer us the virtual reality world to suck us into and distract us. It's going to be like that movie Ready Player One, where the city's a dump and everyone just spends their time playing virtual reality video games as everything's falling apart around them. Basically, that's the
Oh, your mic, you're muted, fake Mike. I think we might have lost
Yeah,
Titus.
I think. Okay.
Oh, there he is. We're
There
back.
you
He's
go.
back from the dead.
What was the last part that you said? You kind of froze up on us there, Captain.
No, just saying. So they've infiltrated all the big tech companies and they're taking all that data and using it to build these new systems like Google, right? And Google actively works against the US military. So they're taking all of the data that people put into the Google platforms and they're using that to build artificial intelligence systems that they're then giving to the Chinese military. And we have US generals that have said this to Congress, and yet everyone still has Google in the US. Google, YouTube should have been banned in the US. They should have been raided by the FBI and banned. But the FBI is useless. So,
yeah.
And you guys mentioned Titus, you just talked about artificial intelligence, and we've seen people like Elon Musk say, "Oh, I'm a cool guy. I'm smoking a joint. I'm cool. Just put AI's bad, but put Neuralink in your head." What does the future look like? Because these people, they've been planning things out, and we're just call them the events of the last couple years. We're going to get to that in a second, and see how these people tie to it as carefully as we possibly can. But I mean, looking forward into the future, Titus. I mean, you've got AI, you got CRISPR. I mean, what the hell? What is going on? What is going on? What the hell is going on? What's the future look like, Titus? Because I mean, these
well,
people.
Elon Musk is an interesting guy. So let's look at Elon Musk. Here's a dude that the alt media people seem to love. Why? I have no idea. But alt media is taking him on as some sort of darling because, he spoke a few truths about the plague. Everyone under the sun, even like mainstream boomers, speak truth about the plague and the created enemies of all of us, like the Keebler elf who just won LARPer of the Year on my show the other night. Okay.
I missed the LARP. Oh man, I can't wait.
Okay, so we all know who these people are, right? But Elon Musk, let's look at SpaceX. SpaceX is a private company. Elon Musk just opened up a showroom for Tesla in the province of China that's known for genocide. Okay. So Elon Musk has ties to China, ties to the Chinese CCP party, who won't let anyone do anything in China without their approval. So we know he has ties to the CCP because he just opened a showroom in China. Okay. He has access to all of our top secret US military space technology, because SpaceX is now doing all of the heavy lift stuff for the National Reconnaissance Office,
Good point.
all of the other military departments. Everything is now being done with SpaceX, and it's a technology transfer for the elite. They're stealing stuff the taxpayers paid for, NASA technology we paid for as taxpayers, and they're taking it with a private company. And that private company could pick up and move tomorrow. There's nothing holding SpaceX in America. That's not an American institution. That's a private company. And this is what they keep doing. They keep privatizing stuff so that they can infiltrate those businesses, or they're already infiltrated from the start, like Intel. And then they just keep stealing our shit and giving it to the rest of the world. Everything, like when you take out American engineers, right, from a country like Venezuela, what happens to the Venezuelan oil? The production fell off. They couldn't make any oil because all of the know-how and expertise comes from us in America. We are like this massive intellectual like giant, and they're stealing all of our shit. It's a huge national security problem, and no one on YouTube's addressing it. None of them. Not High Impact Flicks. None of these people. Any of them. It's frustrating. Alex Jones won't touch this with a 1,000-foot pole, nor will any of his guests.
Yeah. And those that try, they just, naturally they get suppressed, and it's like, in a way, it's lucky, not even lucky, I guess it sounds bad, but lucky if you get banned, because at least you're over the target. A lot of the times they're more vicious, and they just don't even let you get traction. You just spin your wheels in place. But yeah, it's looting. They're looting our intelligence that we've gathered for many, many years, all the innovations that we've pioneered, and they're pawning it off to create this sideline type of society. And when you said like private partnerships, it's like that's what it is. It's like a mixture of these like government, not even government backed, just private corporate type of entities that say that the public will have a say in it, when in reality, we know that that's not how it goes. And it's like we've seen similar templates used in the past in terms of like, communism, which isn't like, you can't even call it like, what we're going through like that. But there's like similarities, right? There's elements. This is some type of weird hybrid that we're working with. But with the Elon Musk thing, I no longer trust anyone regarding that. It's a way to get us used to that Neuralink shit. It's a way to get us used to, prime us for the idea that, we'll have better control over it. There's no hope that there's no way that putting something in your body will ever give you more control over whatever technology it is that they say it's going to help you use better or control better. It's bullshit. It's nonsense. And Elon Musk is more than likely a figurehead to sort of, he has to be favorable, he has to be like appealing, which is interesting because he really does not seem appealing. He seems like a robot of some sort, like he was for real built in a warehouse with Mark Zuckerberg somewhere. Like, you know what I'm saying? And yet people love him, and it's interesting, even in the alternative circles, like you said before. So what better way, though, to prime the public for the idea of the melding, the blending of the digital with the physical, which has been the prophecy of Klaus Schwab laid out in the Fourth Industrial Revolution and the Great Reset, and many others that have been part of this transhumanist movement for decades, right? This isn't anything new, but we see it increasingly coming to fruition. And this will also sort of get us ready for smart cities. So the future may very well involve things like Neuralink on a mass scale, but I more quickly believe that it's going to be more of a mixture, as in smart cities and every movement documented, every thought conditioned in live time. There's no place that you could go. There's no privacy, doesn't exist anymore. There's just ownership is gone. You're just part of this giant technological hive mind system where individuality is lost. Souls are few and far between. Although everyone has one, they've forgotten what one is. And it's all just this technotronic nightmare. As Zbigniew Brzezinski said this in what is it called? Between Two Ages is the book, America's Role in the Technotronic Era. He said the future, and this was back in the 70s, he said the future is going to be sort of like a technocracy, increasingly technological. He said, but what you're going to see is, despite connection never being more advance. People are going to become increasingly connected around the world, but simultaneously they're going to become more fragmented. And what are we seeing now? That's precisely what we're seeing in terms of ideologies, in terms of differences, in terms of anger and hatred towards one another. It's vicious. People are vicious against each other because we're currently building our own digital prisons around us via previous clicks, websites visited, and just general confirmation biases. Like we get positive answers to the things we research. So I'm just bouncing and rambling off of this, bouncing off of Elon Musk here. The point is like he's just, in my opinion, one person playing a role in line, along with many others in the future, to help ease us into this future reality, while also doing the exact things that Titus said, because we can't have something like NASA anymore. Those days are done. All we have are going to be oligarchs that are, sometimes we don't even know about them, and they have figureheads that speak on behalf of them, maybe like your Elon Musks, but they're just siphoning off what they can, selling it off to whom they can, regardless of motivation. Or perhaps their motivation is shared by the people they're trying to sell it off to, China and the rest of them. Who knows? Shit's scary. It's just a nightmare, man.
Yeah, so I think what is the answer now? I think we got to make people aware of what's actually going on, and somehow, like people like us, the three of us here, and the people in the chat, we have to come up with some way to actually break through this like information warfare that's going on, because we've been silenced for the most part, and there's got to be some way to break through to people. There's got to be some way that we can reach more people than we're reaching with this information, because it has to get out there. So,
well, yeah, and that's why I was very excited tonight, because you gentlemen have been nice enough, because I really admire both of your work and what you guys do. And like I said, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I literally watch all of your videos like twice, sometimes three times, because one, repetition helps you remember these things, and you're covering powerful information that nobody else is covering. I study a lot of other stuff, but you guys are people that I consistently keep up with all the time, and I'm actually really glad that we were able to, and we're able to right now, kind of beat the algorithm in a cool way, and get people up in front of people that we shouldn't be here talking. And it's only thanks to Mr. America, guys. Share, like, and subscribe to this channel, guys. Hit the bell for notifications. I mean, we're bringing you Fritz Springmeier, Jordan Maxwell. We've confronted Biden several times, the Clintons, Trump, all these fools. We're doing it here only thanks to Mr. America. You guys really, I want you guys to check him out on Instagram. Thank you to everyone that donated over at Auditing America News on Cash App, Auditing America News, Auditing America News. Find Auditing America on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook as well. We got a group over there growing. And it really said something about the character of this gentleman, where he says, hey, Will, you're my boy. I don't even know or necessarily agree with half of the stuff that you talk, but I trust you with my literal livelihood and everything that I've done to build up this movement, to have these two gentlemen on. And this is not an easy thing to do, guys. Seriously, we're over here like we're tiptoeing right now. And so we really appreciate the shares on this, guys. Get all this information out to everybody. Find Captain Frost, Titus Frost on BitChute, DLive, Hive. That's where sometimes when I don't know, because I get information from a streaming thing, but one thing that I always will check is Captain Frost, Titus Frost's Hive. It's not, like he said, it's on blockchain. It's not going anywhere. And it's really important, the analysis that Titus will give with what he's saying. So obviously I suggest you watch it. If you don't have as much time, then watch it in double speed. But you can get what he's breaking down on these shows right there on Hive, right? So it's very important, and he gives you all the links to everything that he's showing you. So it's very important that you check out. Guys, I have a few more questions that I want to get to, at least one or two more, and then I want to open up for the chat if you guys can participate with that. But again, please, for everybody that's just joining, smack the like, hit the bell for notifications. And again, how can people find you, guys?
Sure. So on mostly bitshoot.com/memoryhold, that's the main HQ nowadays. I've got, if you go to odyssey.com, odyssee.com, just type in memory hold, you have access to my 2.0 and my 3.0 accounts, which are now banned. That's 86 videos in total. It'll take you quite a while to get through all of those. You can also find me on Twitter at memoryhold777, Gab at memoryhold, and for uncensored live streams, dlive.tv/memoryhold. You navigate over to any point on social media. I have a Cointree link that compiles all of my links into one spot, and that's primarily where I'm at nowadays. Memory Hold 4.0 if you're still primarily using YouTube for some reason.
Yep. So yeah, you can find me just basically any platform you're on. If you type in Titus Frost, I'll probably pop up. I'm on BitChute, Rockfin, Odyssey, DLive, the multitude of platforms out there. I'm still on YouTube. But yeah, hive.blog/@TitusFrost. And as Will was saying on there, like Hive is a Web 3.0 application, so I can embed all of the show notes into the blog posts for the show. So like all of the stuff's right there embedded in the show notes. So it's like a nice thing for people to go through. Like I always joke, like someone could easily just rip off my show because like they could just go use my show notes and do my show. So you know what I mean? Like, because it's all right there.
I remember you saying that, Titus, and like I'll go live nightly here, and the thing is, we have to be as careful as we can here, and I still bring a lot of information to people that wouldn't get it. I drop that in every single video, but again, certain things happen, and then you're disappeared. So it is a thin line. But yeah, I mean, we also do a syndicated radio show, the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. That's one of the things. I go through all the mainstream news. I go through alternative news. I'll check Big Fish on Twitter. I'll check some of my good friends' social media, Paca Elijah, my other boy. I'll check some of these people out, but I'll also check out Hive and Titus Notes, because you can literally do it. He even says, hey, even if you don't like the way he gives the information, he's giving you all the information right there. You give the direct information directly to people, or you present the information. I mean, he's giving you guys an alley-oop here. So check out Titus Frost, Google Titus Frost, Memory Hold, and find all the information. What I'll do is what I'm going to do is, after this on Facebook, I'm going to make a post, and I don't know where the hell the moderators are tonight. What the hell, guys? But we should be spamming these guys' information here. But follow me on Facebook, Will Turbin, and also FakeMikeRealNews.com on Facebook and FakeMikeRealNews.com. As a matter of fact, that's right, FakeMikeRealNews.com. Captain Frost and Memory Hold, you can find their links on FakeMikeRealNews.com as well too. But I'm going to put it up on my Facebook. I'm also going to tweet it out, share it on this channel's community as well as my channel's community, so you guys get in touch. I really implore you to do so, because seriously, guys, we get a lot of haters in some of the videos, and a lot of kind compliments. And some of the kind compliments say, "Hey, Will, we really like the fact that you're pretty well informed on certain things." And the reason I'm well informed is because I spend a lot of time checking out information, and these two gentlemen right here are people that I always consume their information, because it's not just them sitting there saying something. They're showing it up on screen, and they're showing you their sources. It's very important information that Fox News and CNN, they're not talking about. So now let's kind of take a twist. We'll get two more kind of fun questions, and then we'll open it up to the chat here. But this is interesting because you guys both talk about this topic in different ways, and maybe kind of similar overlapping ways too. But Titus, you've been talking for a long time about the space program and NASA, right? And what's going on up there, right? And I know Memory Hold also kind of was somebody, and correct me if I'm wrong, Memory Hold, but wasn't somebody that necessarily believed all the stuff we've been talking about for the last hour and a half. But Memory Hold was kind of open-minded to the fact that, hey, what the hell is going on? Because as I said on the stream last night, I definitely believe in UFOs. I don't know if they're government. I don't know if they're extraterrestrials. I don't know if there's some type of unexplained scientific phenomena that we've yet to come across or something else, but there's something up there. And then what we've also witnessed recently is from Fox and CNN News to the government, they're actually releasing UFOs. So now this is like an interesting thing. And then you got NASA and you got SpaceX. So Titus, you've done quite a lot of work on this, and memory hold you too. But Titus, if you could start us off this time, what's going on what's going on outside of our atmosphere?
Well, honestly, I believe that the vast majority of the flat Earth talk that happens is a distraction away from the military space programs. So when you and I met for the first time ever, we were standing at Bilderberg, which was across the street from the National Reconnaissance Office. And if you look up the NROL program, that's the National Reconnaissance Office Launch Program. And that's a program with over 100 something satellites that have been launched up there that are violating our constitutional rights on a daily basis, and basically give the intelligence agencies an eye on the entire planet. They have every square inch of this planet surveilled by satellites. So, I mean, that's what's going on up there. SpaceX is talking about going to Mars. None of that has anything to do with going to Mars, in my opinion. What they're putting up there is deep space military satellites. And that's the reason for the heavy lift package of SpaceX. But that gives SpaceX access to all of our deep space military satellites, which means Israel has access to all that stuff, and the rest of the bankers have access to all that stuff. And that's really the new warfare front is space. So they're doing all types of programs up there. They have space fence. They have, it's really where they're pumping a huge amount of money, because it's going to be a huge new way to waste money for the military industrial complex, basically.
Yeah, there's a few different ways you can take it too. It's obviously, number one, going to be just an endless pit of money to develop weapon systems, next generation weapon systems, your directed energy weapons, not to mention just encompassing the globe in its entirety in advanced surveillance systems and satellite tracking technology. As Titus was just saying, just number one, where there literally is no escape, there's nowhere to hide. You are watched at all points of time. Regardless of where you are, and all of that data stream is being sucked in and analyzed by the likes of Israel and the likes of these rogue states that are hoping to get this technology up and running as well. And it also just inherently serves another purpose too. You mentioned UFOs before. Well, let's take the fear, the existential threat. We're now in the age of the existential threat. We're past people in uniforms. We're past Middle Eastern terrorists. Now we are the air is going to kill us, right? It's climate change. There's too many of us, right? And that's not an enemy. That's just simply this overpopulation, right? So these existential threats. So what you're seeing with the UFO stuff is they're rebranding UFOs to UAPs, because this is the new psyop. This is the new psychological warfare tactic to instill the existential dread and the fear of them, which is going to be, guess what, an excuse to develop more surveillance systems. We need to get this up there now, otherwise we're not going to be able to spot those aliens up there, right? Got to give me that cash money, though. Get more satellites up in the air, whatever you need to do, right? Weapons, satellites, whatever you need. That's how I see it coming into fruition. It's like it simultaneously plays off of everything that we're seeing in the future, right? This technocracy, right? The shuttling off of all of our technological capabilities into the hands of just a bunch of demons. That's just my opinion, what I think is going on up there. But yeah, it's certainly not in the control of any, in my opinion, any good-natured individuals. I think they're up to no good, no doubt.
Yeah, so let's go to the chat here before we wrap things up. You guys have been very generous with your time. And, there's some other things I want to get into, but just for the sake of this channel and knowing what happened to my channel and these gentlemen's channels a few times, you're just going to have to check out Captain Frost, the Ghost of Captain Frost on YouTube, Titus Frost on BitChute, Titus Frost on DLive, Memory Hold on BitChute, Memory Hold on DLive, Memory Hold on Odyssey. Titus, are you on Odyssey?
Yep.
Titus, I believe these both gentlemen are on Rockfin and so forth. So one of the questions is Will Smith really an MIB? I don't know, but he's down with Scientology, and they're a bunch of weird freaks for sure. But the Men in Black are a real thing, so that's interesting. Thank you very much for that compliment, guys. You guys are too funny. Yeah, you guys heard that NASA hired priests to prepare us for aliens. I did not hear that, although I did hear that John Paul, besides overseeing John Paul, what's the new guy's name? Not John Paul. What's the new guy? The new Pope. What the hell is his name? I've completely
Francis.
Francis, yeah. Gosh
Yeah.
darn Francis. Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, there's UFOs out there, and don't worry though, that's perfectly fine. And see me doing this with the child, turn the other way. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me in the least. So yeah, guys, put in the chat any questions or comments that you have here for Memory Hold and Titus Frost, and please share the video because we do a lot of different videos here. And part of the reason that I work so hard on this channel is so that we can do streams like this with different people, different interviews, and we're able to build up an audience that wouldn't be aware of this type of information. So I feel like I'm actually accomplishing something. Over the last couple months, I felt like this stuff. I'm anybody that knows me knows that I'm the unflinching optimist. Somebody's asking the whole time, have you ever heard of dearth or dirt? I don't know what that is. Can you spell that out? You've been asking the whole time. I'll get to that question. But yeah, it's really good to see that despite the crazy things that are happening, there are people that are becoming activists. Nobody is going back to sleep, and people wake up every day and become activists. And just the fact that I'm able to help expose this information and others to new eyeballs is important. We got to keep sharing the information, guys. Again, thank you very much for all the donations you've given lately. But we're not e-beggars, but we are e-beggars for sharing the video. That's all that we ask. We definitely appreciate the donations, but please share the videos, especially this video and our best videos. When this video is done, share with everybody that you know. Okay, so let's see what dearth is. Let's get to your questions here, guys. Now's the time for your questions and comments. All right, let's see.
Well, I can answer the dearth question.
Okay, great.
He's talking about down into the rabbit hole, I believe. DITRH?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a flat earther that pushes a bunch of lies. Okay. And on top of that, he sells a flat earth tracking app that allows flat earthers to meet up with each other because it gives their location data to each other. So they're basically doxing themselves. So it's another.
Well, they have to have their data from a GPS, which would be impossible if they were on a flat Earth, basically.
Well, I mean, I'll give them a challenge, a flat Earth challenge. They can jump off my boat with a telescope, right? And I will go until they can't, see me over the horizon. But if they can then telescope back in and tell me where I am, I'll come back and pick them up out of the water. But if they can't see where I am, they have to stay in the water where they are.
Yeah, I've never heard of dearth. Yeah, I never heard of that before.
Well,
That's just new to me.
My thing is about the flat Earth is, Titus is actually, Titus is somebody that he's actually debated some of these flat earthers too. And flat Earth is kind of like, and I actually want to bring this up before we go. If people are getting questions, but I definitely can't read that fast. So I'm going to go back to your questions. But the thing is, to me, I'm open-minded, right? Like I haven't spent that much time researching that. But like if someone was to put together some information, I'll consider it. At first I looked at some of the stuff and what they were saying when it first came out. I'm like, well, I'm way too high to be doing that math, and I'm not doing that. But to me, it's like it doesn't really make a difference if it's flat or round. We still have to deal with what's going on right now. There's still human trafficking, there's still illegal wars, there's still the NSA spying. But Titus makes the point here that and this is something that we've talked about on this channel, is that NASA was created by Werner von Braun, a Nazi. You got the occultists, you got the Freemasons. We live streamed inside the Masonic Temple headquarters in DC, where they said, "Hey, Will, do you see that flag over there? That was the first flag on the moon." I said, "What do you mean? Stars and Stripes, Old Glory?" "No, that one, the Masonic flag." So, Memory Hold, what's your take on all this? Because, like I said, you were somebody that that kind of laughed at some of the weird conspiratorial stuff. But myself too, I'd always been like, what the hell is going on with that? I've always kind of been interested in the kind of unsolved mysteries type stuff. So, yeah, what's your take on all that?
Yeah, I mean, before all of this, like I've, it's only been, I guess time flies. It's been like 6 years since I actually got into any of this. I never used to believe in anything I talk about now. In fact, I used to actively combat anyone that would discuss things like this, just thinking I would know my shit. Surely it can't be real. I mean, based on what? You don't know
Yes,
shit.
it
You know what I'm
can.
saying?
Stop calling me Shirley.
Yeah, and it's like, I sat down and debunked some things one day. I'm like, damn. I'm in a little bit of trouble here. I'm having some issues debunking some of these things, and just it spiraled from there. And I can actually simultaneously bundle in a question here. I think someone asked sort of like, what do we do as just like a small person to get ahead of this corruption, right? And I find, people think it's actually the opposite, like looking and researching into this and spending so much time, because it does take an extensive amount of time to not only research this, but produce videos that are over 2 hours long on a consistent basis, right? It's a lot of time. People think that, it must just be terrible. This is all negative. It's awful. It's consistently just downer, cynicism feelings, just, ugh. But it's like, in my opinion, actually, the way the good guy gets ahead of the corruption, if you have very little power or influence comparatively to the people that we're trying to combat, the one thing they can't take from you, man, and it might sound simple, is like optimism, is happiness, right? If you let them like take a fucking smile from you, man, you're done for. You know what I'm saying? If you let them just take you down mentally, spiritually, if they take your soul, your spirit from you, if they take your, I don't know, your inner being from you. Again, this might sound a little like, I don't know, new agey cuckoo, but for real, man, they can take a lot from you, but they can't take like your willingness to find happiness and optimism wherever you look, regardless of how bad things are. And to be honest, I was actually worse off before I got into all of this, right? Because it's a little bit easier when you realize the world is mindless chaos, particles bouncing off one another mindlessly with no motivation. Now I can quantify the evil in the world and understand that it's just flesh and blood human beings acting like a bunch of lizards, goofing off, you know what I mean, trying to fuck around. And it's not, I mean, it's a lot of them, but I mean, there's 7 billion people on the planet, right? And if you were to really take all of these people, I like to believe that most of them would be generally good, right? If someone was starving next to them, they'd probably give them a portion of their food, right? There's a minority of people that have monopolized the power structure and have made a lot of progress that way. So yeah, just long answer to a basic question. And it's a simple answer, but honestly, yeah, how do you get ahead of these people? Educate yourself, spread the word, share this video, read, and just don't get down. Don't let it get you down, honestly. So that's what I think about all this. It's nothing but beneficial to anybody that gets into this.
It's really funny because apparently because we get a lot of good comments in the chat, a lot of praise for you gentlemen here, but apparently because we didn't immediately comply with the flat earth theory, we're 3 baby truthers and 3 lizards. So
oh, nice. I'm a gecko guy. I hope I'm a gecko, or salamander. Salamander's my favorite.
Yeah, actually, I didn't even send Captain Frost a link today. He just shapeshifted into the screen. I thought was weird. So let me ask you guys one more kind of fun random thing, because it's really funny. I had people going back on and then maybe 1 or 2 more questions from the chat here before we wrap this up. But something people I guess have been claiming that I've been covering up for a while now is Tartaria and the Tartarian Empire. Have you guys taken a look into this? Actually, I was doing preparation for a show one night, and I was scanning through the mainstream news, and I came across an MSNBC article that said, "Here's the new online conspiracy," which is basically QAnon. Oh, and by the way, Titus, I gotta ask you because that's exactly where I left off. I'm like 10 minutes in to your video about the true Q. So you gotta, if you can, you can maybe you could just tease it for your show, but maybe you could tell us here too. But yeah, have you guys heard of Tartaria? What's your take on that? This is just a kind of a fun one, guys. Before you guys ask a couple of questions in the chat, and yeah, we're definitely gonna hold up Titus here to answer that because that's exactly where I left off, and I'm spoiling myself. Spoiler alert, guys.
You know, I got to be honest with you. I don't know much about it. I haven't had a chance to go around and look into it. I've heard of it though, but I'm afraid I don't have much to bring to the table.
So you're
on that
basically
subject.
a baby truther lizard covering up.
I'm a baby truther lizard. I'm
Great.
trying to cover up
Thanks
things.
a lot, memory holes.
Listen, guys,
Thanks
I'm
for
in damage
nothing.
control. Okay, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Thanks for nothing. All right, what's your take there, Captain Frost?
Well, other than arriving at my house today in a stolen Tartarian airship, I don't know anything about Tartaria. What's that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked into that because I've been working on other things like the cicada puzzles and, which are important because we're developing new methods of cryptology. So stuff that like artificial intelligence won't be able to break. The Cicada 3301 puzzles are actually extremely
What are the
important.
Cicada 3310? I know some people will be aware of those, other people will not.
It's a cryptology puzzle mainly. So it's a puzzle that teaches people how to just teaches people about cryptology, about privacy, about that type of stuff. So we've been working on that because there's a new puzzle that came out that's all tied into NFTs, and there's going to be like locations around the world with hidden treasure and things like that. So it's kind of an interesting little project. But the Q stuff, a lot of the.
I mean, let's just
it kind of comes from that cicada stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like the cicada people and I, like a lot of us got accused of being the origins of QAnon and all this crap, and none of that was true. The Financial Times wrote an article stating QAnon was a cicada ARG gone bad and all this.
What's an
None
ARG?
Of that,
Titus, if I'm a baby truther, you're at least a pre-adolescent truther. So you got to explain it to me, let alone if I'm a baby truther, then we're all a bunch of normies and fedoras in this chat. So
it's like an alternative reality game. So a game that takes place on the internet, but also in real life. So like to advance in the puzzle, you might have to scan a QR code from a location in real life that might lead you
kind of
to
like a
next...
Pokemon Go, right?
Yeah, Pokemon Go, but for like adults. Okay, it's like an Indiana Jones.
Gotcha. Cool.
Right.
Cool. Very cool.
Okay, so like basically that's what they do, but like DeFango and some of these other characters that are like Bernie Sanders supporters, they worked with people like Jack Posobiec and some people out of Niantic, which are like who created Pokemon Go, and some other people with ties to the military, like this Esteban Trujillo guy who was like in love with Cicada but was not a part of it. And they all worked together to create QAnon. So like what I exposed in the QAnon thing is all of the names of the people who did it. So like QAnon wasn't one person, it was a group of people, and they're all tied together. And when they lost control of it, because they lost the trip code, which was Matlock, they started attacking it. So they became the anti-Q people. They even created anti-QAnon LLCs and things. But these were the same people that created it in the first place. And they have direct ties to things like Spycraft Entertainment, which is you ever heard of Black Cube? Spycraft Entertainment is the CIA Black Cube. So it's all ex-CIA people that run scripts for Hollywood and things of that nature. And they scripted out the whole QAnon thing by taking already known information and repackaging it, mixing it in with lies, and redirecting the people that were all awakened by Pizzagate and other things to just nonsense land. It was all from the McChrystal Group. You ever heard of them? Big intelligence group, private intelligence group. They just shifted it all away to a new narrative. And, these people, it was all a bunch of BS. Q was always a bunch of BS. It was a bunch of Bernie Sanders, furries, and LARPers, and CIA clowns. That's what QAnon was.
2 more weeks.
Yeah, broken record in here saying trust session. Sneaky Jeff is going to strike at any time. He's going to fly on a Predator drone with JFK Jr. and shoot the deep state to death any minute now. So stay tuned, guys.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah.
It's coming in hot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The rest are coming, guys. And as Titus showed you, the very first Q post was obvious, provable lie. Like we could prove obviously that it wasn't true. And then because of that, you have boomers by the dozens, if not hundreds, waiting in Dealey Plaza for the resurrection of JFK Jr. I mean, and they were making fun of the liberals. This is just whoa stuff. So I'm glad you gentlemen took the time here to talk about this stuff. This is a lot of dense information. We've already been going an hour and 45 minutes. I think we're gonna put some bookends on it right now too. And we opened a whole bunch of can of worms. And I know you guys all will have more questions for Captain Frost and Memory Hold. So we're going to tell you once again, please find these gentlemen on social media and share this video with your friends and family. Take 1 second. It's absolutely free. Share it on text message, Facebook, Twitter, all the platforms with people, and just say, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? And just get their feedback from that. So people are going to have a lot more questions for you gentlemen. I'm telling all of Auditing America's audience, I need you guys to go over and then support these gentlemen. Captain Frost on DLive, Captain Frost on BitChute, on Hive, everyone reiterate, and the way things get into people's heads, you say it 3 times. So if you guys can say your social media 3 times each, and so that people can go ahead and follow you and keep up with your work. Because like I said, I'm a huge fan of both of these gentlemen right here, and have watched all, with the exception of the last months, of their work at least twice. So I implore you guys to go over and support. And this is, we talk about solutions all day. One of the ways is get this video out and get their work out, understand this work, and share with other people. That's basically the first step that we all need to take right now. So again, gentlemen, please reiterate 3 times each on your social media, every single one of them, so people can find you.
Sure. I'm on Twitter at MemoryHold777, Gab at MemoryHold, and then BitChute.com/MemoryHold. So Twitter, MemoryHold777, Gab at MemoryHold, and then BitChute.com/MemoryHold. And in the end, it's just at MemoryHold, Gab, MemoryHold777 on Twitter, and then BitChute.com/MemoryHold. That's the main HQ. And I'm pretty reachable. I do respond to DMs. So just hit me up on Twitter if you want to bullshit, and chat about cool stuff, man.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter as well, at Imperator Truth. You can also type in Titus Frost, the Twitter, and I generally pop up near the top. Same as on YouTube, BitChute, just type in Titus Frost, and then hive.blog/@Titus Frost. All right.
Yeah, everyone go check them out and leave a comment, not just for the algorithm, but let them know Auditing America and good old fake Michael sent you. And that's what we're going to do here, Auditing America. Again, I want to say a special thank you to everybody that donated to Auditing America and myself on Cash App. You can find me $fake Mike Real News, $fake Mike Real News, $fake Mike Real News on my Instagram, fake Mike Real News, fakemikerealnews.com. Telegram, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, all those platforms. Auditing America, you guys have been financing some of our recent trips. $Auditing America News on Cash App, $Auditing America News, $Auditing America News on Cash App. Find Auditing America on Instagram. Find them on TikTok. I know you guys don't like TikTok out there, guys, but download and give them a follow just so we can say, hey, we got more followers out there than Khloe Kardashian. And find him on all the other platforms, Auditing America, Facebook, and so forth, and give this channel a like, share, and subscribe. We're going to be following up with all the other things that we've been talking about, so make sure you hit the bell for notifications. And yeah, that guys, Auditing America, we're going to keep bringing you the absolute best content. We're going to give you the best interviews. We're going to give you the most impactful information. We're going to go to these places. We're going to investigate them ourselves, and we're going to do it without any makeup, without any corporate agenda, the military-industrial complex. Just a snapback and a fake mic. Real news. Peace out, folks.